Now, this video is essentially an extension of a previous video I released, titled What Would Julius Evola Think of Social Media? The Breed of the Unprofessional Man, I called it, as a play on his essay, The Breed of the Evasive Man. As a matter of fact, a day after I released that video, for the first time, Elon Musk on Twitter, X, made a statement. You, as in you people on social media, and specifically his platform, are the media now. If you're not on X or you don't follow Elon Musk, what he means by that is legacy media is dead, or it's at least moribund. And now it's time for the great masses of individuals, the entrepreneurs, to step up and fulfill that once prestigious role legacy media had. And it is indeed very true that legacy media is, to put it somewhat, flippantly, a joke. It really is. But, such is the case with my way of thinking. There is always a pro and con to anything seemingly positive. In other words, there's a double-edged sword to this. And I think, people will feel social media influencers, they will feel incentivized and galvanized by someone of Musk's status, asserting this kind of way of looking at the world. But I don't necessarily think it's going to produce greater content. To the contrary, in fact, it's going to produce a lot of, excuse the colloquialism, attention hose. And I'm not being gender specific by saying that. Essentially, what this is going to bring forward in society is this accelerationist will to power, very much in the Nietzschean sense. A worldview of, well, I have to put myself out there and I have to make the best, most eye-catching content and make my thumbnails appealing, make my Substack more readable, and send people newsletters, and I might even make my own blog site, and this, it's just going to be very competitive that way. So he who has the most influence online on social media is going to be deemed, the rightful heir to legacy media. And the issue I have with this, in this video, it's going to be specific. It is a multifaceted issue. But I wanted to compare and contrast authorship, modern authorship, and by this I mean people who write books or journals or articles professionally, or at the very least through a top-tier publication, contrasted with authors prior to social media and even the internet itself. Now, the lives were so different. Prior to social media, authors who happened to be published, or even if they started their own print magazine, like fanzines and little magazines and this kind of thing, were not expected to promote their personality, their persona, 24/7, all around the clock, every single day, like they are today. Because if you run a Substack, or even if you're a bit higher and you write for an editorial that sees value in your writings, then you are expected to promote yourself, not just on the likes of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, but also on streaming services, YouTube, Spotify, StreamYard, which I think is a a tool for YouTube, but you get the point anyway, you know. So and that's perfectly fine. I'm not saying that writers shouldn't do that. Of course, how else are they going to get noticed? As traditional publishing is compromised these days. But what this serves in the modern day, and in this "you are the media now" sentiment, is a profound lack of, I was going to say mystery, but it really is intrigue. And think of the examples we can go into in the past. One of my favourite authors of fiction is McCarthy, who recently passed. And he was notoriously media shy. He would barely do interviews, like on television. He did one with Oprah Winfrey and everyone went mental over it. Oh, he's here. He's on Oprah. Well, that man was so mysterious that, and on top of being a good author, a good writer of books, academics and scholars and students for a couple of decades at least were really trying to parse the meanings of his works by virtue of his mystery alone, his mysterious lifestyle. There was also a story about McCarthy. Some journalist, she was so intrigued by his mysterious life that she wanted to know what his political orientation, you know, who he voted for and this kind of thing. And she literally went into his garbage can and, you know, pulled out a load of his letters. And apparently he voted for the Republican Party back in the day at that point, and they were asking him if they wanted to renew his membership. And she wrote a whole piece. I think it was in the New York Times. So it's a proper high-ranking piece, editorial. And she said, oh, well, I found this. So this is what we know of McCarthy. Now, contrast that with the modern day, with authors and people, you know, social media influencers in general. They will share everything, or seemingly everything, mostly the minutiae of their everyday lives on the likes of Instagram or Twitter or any of the aforementioned platforms. So posthumously, there is nothing really to parse. There is nothing to extract or deduce based on what these authors have in their books, the content, because they're more or less saying it. You can go on their Twitter profile and say, well, I know exactly what this dude is all about because he keeps talking about it. There's no mystery there. There's no intrigue there. It's just consumptive pastime material, which is a bit harsh, but I think you understand the point I'm trying to drill home. So I don't necessarily want to, I mean, I do have to partake in social media to a point, and it is expected of me, and I'm happy to do that. But I do like to pull back a little bit on the everyday minutiae of my, you know, of my everyday life, because who isn't in the modern day tempted to go on these platforms and say, you never guess what I saw at the local park today. Oh, I tell you what, people, I tell you, man, people. And sometimes I've gone to that point of typing that kind of material on these platforms and I've just deleted it, just retracted all of it. And I thought, I don't need to share this. Why does anyone need to know this about me? Everything you need to know, or anything you need to know about me, is in the work I have published under my name, which is carefully considered, oftentimes edited, and ready for perennial or timeless consumption. I think that's something lost in modern authorship, in the literary world. And of course, the irony of making a video like this in relation to its topic is not lost on me. And I think this uber positive notion of going forward as a uber independent entrepreneur is a little short-sighted. I think it might be myopic, certainly in the sense of mental health. I mean, I did use the specific example of authorship and writers, but this could just as easily apply to any kind of creator. You know, it could be a visual artist, a filmmaker, an engineer, a game designer, you name it, a musician, if I didn't say that already. But what do you think? Am I being a little too picky? You can let me know if you want. Thanks for listening.